If you love the sounds and excitement of motorsports, there's really only one place to turn, Diamond P Video. Our trackside cameras capture racing's most explosive moments and bring them straight to you in an ever-growing collection of award-winning home videos. From funny cars and jet cars to pro stocks and monster trucks, Diamond P Video is your front row seat for the wildest racing ever recorded. Hang on and step up to the great racing action that's awaiting you at Diamond P Video. From the Winter Nationals through the Winston Finals, you'll see unsurpassed coverage of National Hot Rod Association Championship drag racing. It's the edge-of-your-seat excitement that makes each NHRA season more memorable than the last. Watch as the kings of the sport hurtle down the track, wheel to wheel at 280 miles per hour. Feel the earth shake in fierce duels between the awesome, fabulous floppers, and hear the engines throb in gear-banging excitement that only Hot Rod from Detroit can bring. Diamond P Video lets you gaze at the stars of tomorrow. Then it's into the pits to meet great racing legends like Big Daddy Don Garlitz, Don the Snake Prudhomme, and Shirley Muldowney. Share their incredible stories of victory and defeat and discover firsthand the strength and faith needed to succeed as a professional racer. Then jump into the seat for non-stop dirt racing. Join the largest group of outlaw cars and drivers in a fight for a piece of the biggest prize on the championship tour, the Knoxville Nationals. Next, it's on with the show as we go to exhibition racing. Indulge in a bit of culture at the Wheel Standard Ballet. Pay tribute to America with the Jet Car 4th of July. And stomp out the beat of the monster truck rap. Then give in to a bit of motor mania with a lighthearted look at tractor pulling, snowmobiles, and even Model Ts. With pigs? Diamond P Video. At times, the scene is frightening. Professional racing at its extreme. Sometimes it's emotional, a moment of personal pain or triumph. But always, it's exciting and a tribute to the power, the glory, and the people of professional racing. Diamond P Video, the best seat in the house for motorsport. For information on the complete Diamond P Video collection, call 1-800-421-0725. In California, call 818-702-9723. '88 was the year of parity, the year when the level of competition and the number of competitive teams rose dramatically. Everyone looking for a piece of the $15 million pie, paid out over 16 national events across North America. The beginning of the year gave an idea of how close the racing would be.
The opening race of the 1988 NHRA Winston drag racing season took place at Pomona, California at the Fairplex. Over 119,000 fans jammed into the facility over the four-day event with 56,000 people on hand on Sunday to see the season opener. Picking up with Funny Car Eliminator in round number one, Jim Head raced Trip Shoemake. Trip was driving for Billy Meyer, Head perhaps the most successful privateer in championship drag racing. In qualifying position, Shoemake was in the number 3 spot, Head number 12. Shoemake battled to keep the burning car under control and off the guardrail. This was one of those rounds where there was good news and bad news. The bad news was Shoemake crossed the center line, automatically disqualifying him. The good news is he was able to come out of the burning car and was okay.
That was a blaze.
It was. I couldn't see. I just hung on the brake and hoped it was going to stop, and then it hit the guardrail. Oh, man. Then I could. Anyway.
In the second round of Top Fuel Eliminator, the racers were confronted with a rather tricky track surface at the Winter Nationals in Pomona. Larry Miner qualified in the number 1 spot, while Eddie Hill, entering his first full season with major sponsorship, qualified in the number 5 spot. And the tricky track bent Larry Miner, going up in smoke right off the starting line. The engine exploded. Larry Miner was okay at the conclusion of this run. So was Eddie Hill. He had a 5:18 elapsed time to take the win. In Pro Stock Eliminator, Bob Glidden, the Winston champion, qualified number 1 for the 23rd consecutive time. He had not only to deal with the track conditions, but also increased competition, in this case, in the form of Morris Johnson Jr. Johnson a whole shot as he outdrove Bob Glidden.
It's moments like this that just make you work harder.
We're going to have to work harder, Steve. We've worked quite hard through the winter, but as you can see, it's paid off better for some of the other guys than it has for us. We're going to have to get back and start over again and see what's going on.
I know you will. Thank you.
Damn.
3 times in a row, Kenny Bernstein has won the Winston Funny Car title, but he was concerned about 88.
Kenny, going for a 4th straight world championship as you are this year, the pressure is really on you. You're the guy everybody wants to beat, and they say so openly.
Well, there's no doubt about it. 4 in a row is a tough thing to accomplish. 1, 2, or 3 was tough to accomplish. It was no different. But I think right now this is the toughest we've seen it.
The big winner this season will be the fans.
Well, they're going to see one heck of a funny car season because you got 5 or 6 cars that are running extremely well, and there's not going to be easy time anywhere. I don't see you'll see any domination like we had the earlier part of last year.
In the second round of racing at the Winter Nationals, it was the battle of the red cars. Mark Oswald against Kenny Bernstein, and Bernstein went up in smoke. Oswald went on for the win. This was an indicator of things to come throughout 1988 funny car racing. In Pro Stock Eliminator in the final round, Butch Leal raced against Mark Powick. This was the first time Powick ever made a final round of an NHRA national event. Butch Leal had been there many times before, as indicated by his second place finish in 1987 in the Winston Championship. A pair of Pontiacs in the Winter Nationals final. Leal easily outdistanced Powick with a 7.45 second elapsed time.
Well, Butch Leal rolls in with a little fire underneath his Pontiac, but that was quickly taken care of. Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Steve. You know, I'm home here in Pomona. I was born in California and live in Ohio now, and it just feels so good to win here in front of all these people. They've been cheering me on all day, and Gil's not here. He's in Florida on vacation, and this one's for him.
Bill Kirk, the car owner. Let me tell you, Powick was right with you up that starting line. He's a young talent to watch for.
Oh, he's great. He's real great. He's really coming, and he's going to do it. He got here, and he knows how to get here now, and I look for him to be here all the time.
The final round of Funny Car Eliminator at the Chief Auto Parts Winter Nationals saw Dale Baldy race against Jim Head. Both racers reached the finals by virtue of upsets. In fact, all 4 top qualifiers were out of competition by the second round of racing. The win went to Dale Baldy, driving Bill Schultz's car with a 6.02 second elapsed time.
To these guys, you know, it is like winning the U.S. Nationals to them. This car, until about a year ago, never went past the first round. Now we won a race finally. We've been in the semifinals a couple times. It's great.
And to keep pace with the touring pros, not keep pace, but to beat them. What an accomplishment for all. You're going to need a bus to haul these guys around if you tour this car.
That's the gang. That's the gang.
Congratulations again to all of you, Dale, and great driving.
Thank you very much.
It was a case of deja vu in the Top Fuel finals at the Winter Nationals. Joe Amato raced against Dick LaHaye. It was only 4 months earlier at the 1987 Winston finals that these two men sat on the starting line. The winner of this race was to be the Winston champion, and it was Dick LaHaye as engine problems removed Joe Amato from that final round of competition for the Winston Championship. Now, in 1988, they started all over again. Joe Amato and Dick LaHaye. And once again, Dick LaHaye prevailed, winning the Winter National.
Low elapsed time, 5:13.
Oh, I thought it would do it, and I was just so afraid to try it, Steve. I mean, I'm almost in tears. I can't even believe this whole... I'm serious. It looks like we've got a nice hot rod here and a new car, and our motor combination looks like it's going to work. We just was very, very skeptical about stepping on it.
Dick LaHaye begins the season as he ended it, atop the Winston Point. Poldy and the over-the-hill gang, a surprise leader in funny car, but sure not to last given their limited schedule. Butch Leal, who last year started strong only to fade in the second half of the season, again off to a great start in pro stock.
The Winston Championship then moved to Gainesville, Florida, and the Motorcraft Quality Parts Gator Nationals. The racers were greeted with some remarkable improvements to this massive racing facility.
Dallas, the improvements that have been made here to Gainesville Raceway say a lot about NHRA's commitment to the fans as well as the racers.
Oh, they certainly do. Of course, the fan support is what makes this all work. Gainesville Raceway has undergone about $1.5 million improvement this year. Interesting, Steve, there's about $18 million going into the national event facilities in 1988, and basically it's for the benefit of the fans that support the sport.
And the racers have more to look forward to than ever before.
Well, they certainly do. As you know, last night the NHRA in Winston announced the first $1 million point fund in the sport of drag racing. That really puts us, we feel, in the same league of NASCAR and kart.
The 19th annual Gator National saw some surprises in qualifying in Pro Stock Eliminator, one of the closest fields ever, with less than 0.07 of a second separating the 16 cars. And the 23-event string of Bob Glidden being the #1 qualifier was snapped by Warren Johnson, who ran 7:35 to take home the #1 spot. In the first round of racing, Kenny Delco was matched against Bob Glidden, who only made the show on his last qualifying pass, qualifying number 11. First round loss for Bob Glidden, obviously struggling.
Normally we like to come to a race, run well the first qualifying run, and that gives us a chance to play around with different combinations and maybe find something that works better on the racetrack. Here we didn't qualify. It was the last session before we made it in, and same thing today. You know, we just had more problems.
The atmospheric conditions at Gainesville were absolutely perfect for the nitro cars, and they did not disappoint anyone. Frank Bradley had established one leg of a national record at over 286 miles an hour in qualifying. He needed a 284 or better for the backup. And Frank Bradley got the record, running 284.99 miles an hour on that run. Another racer looking for the speed record was Eddie Hill. He had run over 288 miles an hour in qualifying. He needed the backup on this run against Dick LaHaye. Hill did not get the speed record, but he established low ET of the meet at 5.089 seconds, 0.07 of a second quicker than Dick LaHaye's #1 time. The two fastest cars in drag racing met in the semifinals at the Gator Nationals, Eddie Hill and Frank Bradley. In winning that race, Eddie Hill set a new national ET record.
The quickest man in the history of drag racing at 5:06.
06.
That's a new national record.
Our weight backs it up.
That's right.
Faster and quicker than anybody's ever gone.
Ever.
All in the same race. I can't believe it. Thank you, Super Shops and Pennzoil, for giving me the stuff to do it with. Jeez,
Now,
what?
you got one more round. Maybe you'll back up that speed, too.
We still got a shot at it, don't we?
Only 275 this time, Eddie. Where'd the speed go?
Oh. Huh, I don't know. Maybe it got there too quick to build up any speed, huh?
The excitement was not confined to Top Fuel Eliminator in the first round of funny car action. Mike Dunn wheeling the Oldsmobile against Jerry Caminito. All eyes were on Dunn. He had qualified with a 5:36. And problems set in for Jerry Caminito. The car losing an engine down track, flames inside the cockpit. And Caminito was able to bring the car to a safe stop. The NHRA Safety Safari was on the scene immediately, and the crewman jumping in to get Jerry Caminito out of that burning race car. Funny car qualifying at Gainesville produced its share of excitement. Everyone was interested in what John Force could do, along with his crew chief Austin Coyle. Force is regarded as one of the most innovative in the sport. And all of the work paid off with a record-shattering time for John Force of 5.365. In the first round of racing at Gainesville, it was Kenny Bernstein against Chuck Etchell. Bernstein, along with his crew chief Dale Armstrong, have had their share of mechanical advancements, one of which is the multi-stage lockup clutch. And on this run against Etchell's, it carried him to a new national record of 5.33 seconds elapsed time. The semifinals saw Kenny Bernstein race Tom Hoover. Bernstein and his crew were ready for the semifinals and another crack at lowering that national record. An action-packed run for the Gainesville fan. Kenny Bernstein set the record at a 5:31, and Tom Hoover at a giant wheel stand. He was okay. The finals in Pro Stock Eliminator saw Bruce Allen driving the Chevrolet against the Pontiac of Butch Leal. Allen had qualified in the number 6 spot. Leal in the number 13 position, but his reactions off the starting line at the Gator Nationals carried him to the final round. Starting line advantage, but Allen won the race.
Butch appeared to leave first, but you'll like this number, 736. Horsepower prevails.
The rear Morrison guys make some power. I'm telling you, if it wasn't for that, Butch, I mean, what a guy you're racing. The guy goes out there and leaves on me almost every time. I mean, you need a new driver. We said before, more power or a new driver, and they gave me some power, so I got some reprieve.
The finals of Funny Car Eliminator at the 19th Annual Motorcraft Gator Nationals saw a continuation of the battle between the big red cars. The Winston champion Kenny Bernstein against the man that finished number 2, Mark Oswald. Bernstein was the favorite with that record-shattering 5:31. Oswald's best times had been in the mid-540s. And Bernstein won for the first time since Indy 1987.
5:35.
Oh, that's good. That's just what it wanted to do. It was a handful. It was a little loose all over it down through there. No tire shake this time, but it was moving around.
It was a handful on the 31 run.
Well, Steve, you know as well as I do, when you're running on those records, it's on the edge. You can go one way or the other, but you know, you take the Budweiser Quaker State Buick Mac Tool car, and we're in there, and that's what all counts today.
The final of Top Fuel Eliminator at the Gator National saw the new national record holder Eddie Hill come into this race as a prohibitive favorite. The times for his opponent, Mr. Consistency, Joe Amato, were nowhere close to Eddie Hill's record-shattering 5.0. What a thrilling moment this was for Eddie Hill after 3 decades of racing, winning his first national event.
With the win and the new record, Eddie Hill is atop the point standings. Amato, 2 for 2 in runner-ups, is second. Bernstein, with a win and record bonus points, moves from 5th to 1st. Oswald into 2nd place. Leal in his 2nd straight finals remains atop Pro Stock. Bruce Allen with a win moves into 2nd.
The 1988 racing scene then shifted to the new Atlanta Dragway near Commerce, Georgia, for the 8th annual AC Delco Southern Nationals. A crowd of some 40,000 jammed the facility on Sunday to enjoy the improvements that had taken place over the winter. Over $4.5 million worth of improvements were made to the Atlanta Dragway. 670,000 square yards of earth were moved. Some 200,000 square yards of granite blasted from the Georgia hillside. 200,000 square yards of asphalt were laid and over 5 miles of drain and sewer pipe installed, with a brand new grandstand seating 25,000 people and costing $1 million. The $4.5 million worth of improvements certainly justifying the title, the new Atlanta Dragway. The excitement level kept pace with the improvements at the new Atlanta Dragway. That was evidenced in the qualifying session and top fuel eliminator between Chris Karamessinis and Richard Holcomb. Holcomb was on fire from the starting line to the half-track point. He did not qualify for this event. Karamessinis qualified 14th. Another qualifying run in top fuel eliminator saw Eddie Hill against Randy Troxel. Troxel was in trouble from the start. He firebombed an engine. Troxel was okay, but out of competition. In Pro Stock Eliminator, Darrell Alderman against James Goodson, again in qualifying at the Southern Nationals. These cars are a handful to drive, and James Goodson proved it. After he hit the guardrail, James Goodson was okay. The semifinals of Funny Car Eliminator saw Kenny Bernstein race against John Force. This a tightly contested rivalry. John Force takes great pride in beating what he described as the big red car. And at the Southern Nationals, John Force prevailed. His elapsed time, 5.60.
Waited a long time, Steve. They didn't think no truck driver could get here, but let me tell you something. Last year, he took me and Coyle out here in the final round, and we just didn't know where we were at or whether we should be in this business. But today, she went out there, she shook, and that old red car made a move on me, and I thought, he did it again. And then that old muscle come in there from Coyle, and she drove around him. Let him have a taste of that.
Sounded like you were driving that car with the throttle, too.
Yeah, I'm having to give Coyle a little bit of help today, not much, but I'll tell you something. I'll tell you something very serious here, Steve. You know this. My dad passed away a week ago, and him and I used to talk right here at Atlanta years ago. He says, why does that guy always outrun you? And I said, I don't know. And he told me, well, you know, maybe it's mental. Maybe your mind's not right. And you know what, Pop? This one was for you here. We took him out.
The finals of Pro Stock Eliminator at the AC Delco Southern Nationals saw the Oldsmobile, out of the same sponsorship and driven by Warren Johnson, race against Tony Christian. Johnson, coming into this event, had won 16 national event titles. Tony Christian had won none. In fact, this was only the second final round appearance for Tony Christian. With a multiple car length margin of victory, Warren Johnson won the Pro Stock title.
A 7:51 finished it off.
God, I think that's low ET for eliminations, too. I think that's good. I'd like to take this time to devote or wish Dave Gerard, manager of motorsports, SVO for Oldsmobile, a speedy recovery. He's having a little tough time lately, but he'll come through.
A good friend of our own.
Yeah, and without his faith and backing, really, this wouldn't really be possible. The AC Delco Oldsmobile came through just because of him.
The Southern Nationals at the new Atlanta Dragway was a great race for Ed McCulloch. After failing to qualify at the Gator Nationals, McCulloch came back to qualify in the #1 spot. This race was a rematch of the 1987 Grand Nationals, where John Force defeated Ed McCulloch to win his first ever NHRA event title. But it was not to be at Atlanta. McCulloch won the race, setting low ET.
That was a good one. I mean, the boys are tough. This was our week.
5:52 finished it off. Low ET by a few thousandths.
Well, that's good. I mean, the thing's running like, you know, our Oldsmobile here is running like a clock, you know. I just want to say one thing. A good friend of ours, dear friend of ours, David Gerard with Oldsmobile, a little under the weather. We want to wish him, you know, a quick return and come on back out here. This one's for you, David.
For the second race in a row, it was Eddie Hill against Joe Amato in the Top Fuel Finals. Amato had qualified #1. Hill had qualified #2. But throughout the day, Hill's times had continued to improve. And as they came into the finals, Hill was the favorite. Amato smoked the tires, and Eddie Hill, for the second race in a row, was the Top Fuel champion.
Hill and Amato remain 1 and 2 in the point standings. Bernstein remains #1, but fourth with runner-up moves into third. And the ace, well, with his win, he moves into 5th place. Leal is still #1 in Pro Stock, but the performance of Christian and Warren Johnson moved them into 3rd and 4th respectively.
all-new Memphis Motorsports Park in Memphis, Tennessee was the site of the newest event on the NHRA Winston Trail, and that, of course, the Quaker State Mid-South National. Built at a cost of about $7 million, Memphis Motorsports Park includes not only the drag strip, but a half-mile oval track, plus a full road course on the multi-hundred-acre facility. The drag strip portion of this racetrack gave the racers fifth at the Mid-South Nationals. Eddie Hill had been the winner 2 times in a row on the Winston Trail. At Memphis, he was unable to qualify. The finals of Pro Stock Eliminator at the Mid-South Nationals matched Kenny Delco against Tony Christian, 2 surprising finalists. Earlier in the second round of competition, Christian, driving the Chevy Beretta that was powered by the Rare and Morrison-built engine, raced against Bob Glidden. Glidden had qualified 5th, Christian had qualified 9th. Christian left on Bob Glidden by just a small advantage, but he didn't need it. Glidden continued to have problems and slowed near the finish line. The finals, Christian against Delco at the Mid-South National. Kenny Delco broke a short distance down track. Tony Christian won his first ever national event title.
Congratulations, Tony, your first big win.
Thank you. Just want to thank my partners, Teeny and John, and especially everybody at Rear Morrison. Bruce Allen, David Rear, Buddy Morrison, Hans, Coleman, everybody down there. They brought it all out. If it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be here.
You know, Kenny Delco had some problems. I had all the ingredients to be a terrific race. Kenny, come in here for a minute, if you would. Yeah, some sparks. Apparently, engine blew up, huh?
Engine motor up. Get a Rear Morrison piece. Get rid of that Ingles piece.
They're not fast enough.
Well, they were today.
That was a good run.
And that's for my wife's birthday. I told her I'd win this one for her birthday. Today's it.
Memphis Motorsports Park provided all the challenges racers needed, particularly those at the wheel of the high-horsepower nitro cars. Ed McCulloch raced against Mark Oswald in the finals at the Mid-South National. Using his great starting line reflexes, Mark Oswald moved first, won the race. McCulloch set low ET at a 5:54.
Well, I'm just happy for Motorcraft and Strohs. You know, they've stuck with us. You know, they've been good sponsors, and we've been to the final rounds this year, but we haven't been able to win one. That's the first one, so really happy for them.
I'm happy for you because it was your driving ultimately that paid off.
Yeah, I can't get no trouble this time, huh?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
The finals in Top Fuel Eliminator at the Mid-South National saw the #1 qualifier, Darrell Gwynn, race against a rookie in Top Fuel, Dennis Forcell. These 2 drivers had met in the early 1980s when they were both competing in Top Alcohol Dragster. Darrell Gwynn with a 5:24 won the Mid-South National.
I have to take my hats off to Dennis Forcell. I'm really proud of him. He's a former alcohol racer and a good friend of mine. He was right there the whole way, and I knew it. 520s did it for us all day. We're real happy.
You had to move at this point in the season if you want to win that world title.
That's right. My guts and everything in me has been killing me. I've been trying to do too good has been the problem, Steve.
Amato has surged past Eddie Hill into the points lead. Gwynn in 3rd, Forcell in 6th. Oswald's win moves him past Kenny Bernstein into the points lead, while McCulloch makes the top 10 after his strong showing. And talk about a surprise. Tony Christian in the Pro Stock points lead.
The next stop on the Winston Championship Trail was Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and the 13th annual Kmart Champion Spark Plug Cajun Nationals. State Capitol Dragway had seen its share of improvements in pit area and return roads, and the racers definitely found it to their liking. Pro Stock qualifying incredibly close, with literally hundredths of a second separating 16 cars. As he came into his final qualifying effort, Butch Leal was not in the show. Butch Leal, unable to overcome his problems, did not qualify.
Butch, it's been a long time since the dreaded did not qualify has applied to you.
It sure has, Steve. It's been 5 years, and it's pretty hard to swallow. It really is. And but you got to thinking about it last night as you lay down and thinking about the qualifying. I remember 5 years ago was the number 1 qualifier versus number 16 was about 2,500s, and these days it's 5. We've had a 500 separating the field.
In the first round of Pro Stock competition at the Cajun Nationals, Tony Christian had a chance to extend his Winston points lead. He was racing against Frank Iaconio, who had qualified 13th, his best performance in a number of years. And Iaconio continued to improve with a quick reaction time, upset Tony Christian. The loss by Christian gave an open door to Bob Glidden to make a move in the Winston points chase. But he was racing against the upset-minded Morris Johnson Jr. Earlier at the Winter Nationals, Johnson and his Pontiac prevailed over Glidden's Ford. Jr. proved to be the better as Bob Glidden went down to defeat. In the final round, Morris Johnson Jr. raced against Bruce Allen. This was the second final round appearance of 1988 for Bruce Allen. For Morris Johnson Jr., his first ever opportunity to win an NHRA national event title. Morrison car prevailed again. Bruce Allen, the Pro Stock champ. By this, the 5th race of the season, the Top Fuel Winston Championship chase was concentrated on 3 cars: Joe Amato, Darrell Gwynn, and Eddie Hill. Gwynn defeated Hill in the semifinals to earn the right to race Joe Amato, who was making his 4th final round appearance of the season. And once again, Amato up in smoke, and Darrell Gwynn recorded his 2nd consecutive Top Fuel victory. The finals in Funny Car Eliminator saw a match of the same teams as was racing in Top Fuel. Bruce Larson out of Joe Amato's racing team with tuning expertise from Tim Richards against the car of Kenny Bernstein, the Budweiser King. This was a first for Bruce Larson. Never before in nearly 30 years of racing had he appeared in the final round of an NHRA event. And in a tremendously close race, Bruce Larson upset Kenny Bernstein.
The whole shot has done it. You've won your first one. How do you feel?
It's just beautiful. You know, it's a lifetime devoted to trying to get here, and we're going to stay here.
And I have to believe that looking at the performance today. Now, you said the car would run a little quicker, and it did pick up the pace a bit.
Yeah, I was going to give the credit to Tim because I thought horsepower won the race. I moved at the other end of the track.
No, you won it, my friend.
I know, but thanks. Yeah,
and Joe,
I just, you know, I'm so pleased that I got to say it again that, you know, Century Tax and Gauges and my crew and the Amato crew have put me where I am. And after all this time, we're going to stay right here. Thank you.
Bruce Larson has won his first one and salvaged the day for the Amato team. No one is really able to pull away in the points fight. Gwynn's back-to-back wins moves him closer to points leader Amato. Hill still in second. Oswald stays atop Funny Car, but Bernstein is getting closer. Bruce Allen, with his 2nd win of the season, moves into the points lead.
The world's best drag racers returned once again to the new Atlanta Dragway near Commerce, Georgia, for the 2nd annual NHRA Winston All-Stars event. This was a very special race with big money posted in all the categories and all made possible by Winston.
Big checks for big bucks from Winston. $30,000 for Pro Stock, $50,000 each for the winners of Top Fuel and Funny Car. And with me is an old friend of ours, Wayne Robertson, Senior Vice President with R.J. Reynolds in the Winston brand. And Wayne, what an exciting day this has been. The racers have been doing anything to win this money.
I'll tell you, Steve, the competition's been fantastic. $130,000, the largest payday in cumulative for all three of the pro categories, and we're excited about this weekend.
And this is only the second year for the Winston All-Stars. What a future this event has.
Well, this is an event designed to be the best of the best, and I think the competition yesterday and today has certainly proved with the closeness of our times that the competition is here. We do have the best of the best, and it's a fan appreciation event. We want to hear from the fans. We want to know what they want to see, and this is a special event.
Only the top 10 racers from the Winston Championship in 1987 were invited to compete at the second annual Winston All-Stars. In Pro Stock Eliminator, the finalists found Jerry Ekman in the Pontiac against the Ford of Bob Glidden. Starting line advantage by Jerry Ekman won him $30,000.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I present to you the Winston All-Stars Pro Stock champion, the winner of $30,000, Jerry Ekman.
Oh, thank you, Steve. What a thrill. I'm so excited that Winston gave us the opportunity to do this. And I'm excited for my team, for Pennzoil, Pontiac, Stratford Motor Products, and the whole group that makes this possible for me to drive this.
I'm proud of you. Another hole shot, a 755 defeats a 749. The Pontiac helped. You won the race.
Thank you very much, Steve. We've been working on that, and it looks like it paid off.
In a race that matched the best competitors in the world, it was only fitting that the top two finishers in Funny Car would race for the Winston All-Stars title. Kenny Bernstein against Mark Oswald. This was Bernstein's second consecutive Winston All-Stars final round appearance. Again, it was starting line reaction time that won the race. Mark Oswald, the champion.
Both drivers recording identical 5:52 elapsed times, but you, Mark Oswald, had the reaction time and have just won $50,000 from Winston. Congratulations.
Well, you know, we couldn't be happier with the Winston involvement. You know, they've put drag racing where they are today. And our sponsors, Motorcraft and Stroh's, they didn't hurt us any either, so we're not quite used to winning like this way. We kind of came from behind. We came from the number 8 position, and we just improved a little bit every time, and it was enough, you know, and anytime you can beat somebody in a team like Kenny Bernstein's, you know, with all that talent, you know, it makes us real happy.
The final race at the Winston All-Stars saw the Top Fuel drivers Eddie Hill and Gene Snow square off for $50,000. Snow finished number 9 in 1987. That earned him the right to be here. He had put away the number 1 qualifier, Darrell Gwynn, earlier in competition. Across the finish line by half a car length, Gene Snow won the Winston All-Star.
Gene Snow has just made $10,000 a second for his final round effort of 5:14.
Wow, I don't know what to say. I just can't believe it all came out just like this right now.
No, I asked if you were going to back down the motor, and you said no. Make all the horsepower you can and corral it.
That's what we tried to do. Joe Paisano said it, and we just let the clutch slip and made the power, and it worked. It's wonderful.
As the 6th Winston Championship event of the season, National Trail Raceway near Columbus, Ohio, hosted the 24th annual running of the Budweiser Spring Nationals. This track had seen its share of improvements over the winter also. Most important, the installation of a 300-foot-long concrete starting line pad. As part of the Spring Nationals action, the champions were crowned in the TRW Sportsman All-Stars. In Super Street Eliminator, Craig Miller at the wheel of a 74 Vega raced against Alan Billings driving the Firebird. champion Craig Miller. In Super Gas Eliminator, Chuck Buckshorn drove an 84 Mustang against Rick Dukerson's 67 Camaro. Buckshorn and the Mustang broke out. The Super Gas champion was Rick Dukerson. In Super Comp Eliminator, Ray Shearer, driving the 23 Ford T Roadster, raced against Keith Sykes, also at the wheel of the Roadster. A picture-perfect run for Ray Shearer won the Super Comp All-Stars title. Stock Eliminator found Al Provost driving a station wagon against Kent Henley at the wheel of a 67 Camaro. This race was decided at the starting line as Kent Henley and the Camaro left a red light glowing. Al Provost won the race. Super Stock Eliminator found the 81 Chevy Malibu of Jim Gorman racing against the 67 Camaro of Mike Say. The Super Stock champion in the TRW All-Stars competition was Jim Gorman. Competition Eliminator found Rick Horde at the wheel of an 86 Oldsmobile Forenza against an 88 Chevrolet Beretta driven by Todd Patterson. The victory in Competition Eliminator by a wide margin went to Rick Horde. Top Alcohol Funny Car found the #1 qualifier and defending Winston champion Pat Austin matched against Danny Townsend. Townsend had problems right at the start, and Pat Austin won the All-Stars championship. In Top Alcohol Dragster, Tom Conway raced against the defending Winston champion Denny Lucas. Conway from Seminole, Oklahoma. Lucas out of Grand Junction, Colorado. In a close race, Denny Lucas defeated Tom Conway and won the TRW All-Stars title. Tricky track conditions were the order of the day at the 24th Annual Spring Nationals. In the first round of Funny Car Eliminator, Mark Oswald raced Dale Baldy. Both drivers went up in smoke. Then Oswald, who had the race won, crossed the center line, eliminating him from competition. An on-site inspection of the center line proved that Oswald had crossed over, thus disqualifying himself. In the second round of Top Fuel Eliminator, the man that had been the picture of consistency during the early part of the 1988 season had the choice of lane. Joe Amato selected the furthest lane from the camera, and he went up in smoke. That gave Jerry Ormsby the win and the right to advance into the semifinals. In Funny Car Eliminator, not all of the action was concentrated on smoking tires at the starting line. In the race in the first round between Don Prudhomme and Ron Dudley, excitement took on another form altogether. A gigantic engine explosion and fire for Ron Dudley. The NHRA Safety Safari was quick on the scene as the blazing car came to a stop against the guardrail. The crewman, without regard to his own personal safety, jumped into the inferno to extricate Dudley. He was transported to the hospital with second and third degree burns, but survived this harrowing incident. The finals of Pro Stock Eliminator at the Spring Nationals saw the classic Ford versus Chevrolet match and the first final round appearance of the season by drag racing's winningest driver, Bob Glidden. Glidden was matched against Bruce Allen. In dramatic style, Bob Glidden won his first race of the year.
Low ET 742.
I thought it was really a good run, Steve. The car left the starting line perfectly. The track was a little better because it's cooler, and I'll tell you, we've had a lot of great wins, but believe me, this is the best.
The finals of Funny Car Eliminator at the Spring National saw Bruce Larson in the final round for the second consecutive race, and John Forst driving for his second NHRA National event win. When he won his first at the Grand Nationals back in 1987, Diamond B Sports was not on hand. When Bruce Larson smoked the tires at the start, John Forst became the Spring Nationals champ.
Congratulations, John. Oh, perfect. Everybody expected you to smoke the tires. It was the other way around.
Diamond P wasn't there at Montreal. They're finally here. Thank God. Somebody's here to save me.
That's right.
It's really amazing. Driving these race cars is something, and I did the dry, and Coyle looked in and said, "We're in trouble, buddy, and all that's left is the dashboard." Can you believe planning on a dashboard to win a race, and I flipped a few buttons, and that old heap worked. I can't believe it.
And this Oscar is going to be in California in a maternity ward by, I'd say, tomorrow afternoon.
I'm leaving right now. I mean, like they're trying to get me something. Yeah, 6 o'clock, my wife, we're trying to induce labor right now. She's overdue, and I got to get home since I hugged this crew. She wants to name him Oscar, but I ain't doing it if I won. Now
She, Oscar?
No, he or she, whatever. She said if you win, we'll call it Oscar or Colombo.
It was high drama in the Top Fuel final at the Spring Nationals. Gene Snow had discovered engine problems just prior to the final round and had to completely rebuild the internal components within the engine. He had not even had an opportunity to fire the engine prior to his burnout. Darrell Gwynn had given him the opportunity to do the mechanical work. This was the third consecutive final round appearance for Gwynn. Snow up in smoke off the starting line, and Gwynn exploded a tire in the light.
That's 3 in a row. Congratulations on that and on your sportsmanship in not forcing the issue with Gene Snow. You wanted to race.
That's right. I wanted to beat him fair and square, and I didn't necessarily want this to happen, but we'll be back in 2 weeks, guaranteed.
Darrell Gwynn gains a little ground in Top Fuel, but he's still in the third spot. 6 funny car winners in 6 races. It's anybody's guess as to what's happening there, but Bernstein is back on top. Bruce Allen is holding on, but here comes Bob Glidden.
The only Winston Championship event outside the USA is at San Air Raceway near Montreal, Canada, the site of the 18th annual Molson Grand Nationals. Nearly 30,000 fans were on hand to watch as Hector Pickering, the only Canadian-based dragster to make the Top Fuel field, matched against national record holder Frank Bradley in the first round of racing. Bradley continued to be plagued with fuel delivery problems that resulted in the engine explosion and fire.
And what happened, Frank?
Same thing as yesterday. I changed the fuel system around a little bit and blew the crank out of it yesterday and kicked a rod out of it today.
Also in the first round of racing at San Air and the Grand Nationals, Joe Amato was trying to protect his points lead from the hard-charging Darrell Gwynn, who came into this race with 3 consecutive victories, and of course Eddie Hill with 2 earlier season championships to his credit. Racing against Amato in that first round was Jack Ostrander. Amato had engine problems. Ostrander took the win.
And Joe, as good a sport as you are, to lose in the first round when you're chasing points is enough to put a frown on any man's face.
Yeah, it's very disappointing, Steve. The car has been running good all weekend, and, you know, we were ahead, and something happened to make the car go real lean. And you know, might have lost a fuel pump or something went wrong. It was a mechanical bug.
3 times Kenny Bernstein has been the Winston champion, but the 1988 season has proven that it is not going to be an easy accomplishment for Bernstein to repeat. There have been 6 races, there have been 6 winners. In the first round at San Air, it was Bernstein against Caminito, and a very rare red light for Kenny Bernstein.
It's been a while, but those things happen, and you know, it's concentration up there, Steve, and I just lost some concentration, and my foot left and went, and my brain said, why'd you do that? And it was over with and done. That's about what happens.
San Air Raceway was not nice to the nitro-burning points leaders. Bruce Allen was hoping to turn that trend around in the first round against Reed Wisnett. Wisnett had qualified quicker than Allen, who was having problems in Canada. At the finish line, it was just a matter of inches as Reed Wisnett defeated Bruce Allen. Bob Glidden historically has taken a multi-event string of victories, parlayed them into a Winston championship. Now with the Spring Nationals title under his belt, everyone was expecting Glidden to defeat Tony Christian. But it was not to be. Tony Christian and the Chevy Beretta, the victor over Bob Glidden's Ford. Still in the first round of competition at San Air, it was Joe Lapone against Morris Johnson Jr. The classic staging battle where the drivers refused to stage finally got the ire of starter Buster Couch. He waved both Lapone and Morris Johnson to the back of the field. They were to race later in the day. When they finally raced, it was Morris Johnson the winner. The semifinals of Top Fuel Eliminator at San Air had 2 major questions proposed. One, could Darrell Gwynn win a 4th consecutive Top Fuel championship? The second, was Gene Snow going to be able to make the semifinal round of competition? The answer to one of those questions was yes. Gene Snow was able to repair his engine and bring the car to the starting area for his semifinal race against Eddie Hill. Dick LaHaye matched against Darrell Gwynn in the semis. And LaHaye prevailed. That brought a stop to Gwynn's win streak.
Well, since the first race of the year, the Winter Nationals, which he won, Dick LaHaye has been able to beat the traffic out of most of these races. He's going to have to hang around with us and fight the crowds, and I don't think he'll mind one bit of 5:26, Dick. Nice one.
Hey, at least it's been consistent. We keep changing it, and the weather keeps changing on us, and we're just keeping up with the weather is what it amounts to. I'm very pleased. I imagine Kim is just, and the whole crew is probably very pleased. This is the first final round since February, I guess it was. And
we're all pleased for you, believe me.
Well, I'll tell you, it's a jungle out there. These guys are flying.
Eddie Hill qualified number 1 at the Grand Nationals and was ever the Texas gentleman as he waited to start his engine while the crew completed the repairs to Gene Snow's car. Snow, utilizing a high-gear only car, has performed brilliantly, but has also experienced considerable engine problems for 2 consecutive races.
A 17 to his 16. Wow.
I was really hyper. I don't hardly know what to say. It was a last-minute deal. We didn't know if we were going to make it. We came up there. I didn't know if it was going to start. It started. I didn't know if it hooked. It did. I mean, I just love them people down there, Eddie and Ursi. They're wonderful, but we got to win sometimes, I guess, and I got to take it as they come, and I appreciate them waiting if they did. We were so enthused, we didn't know what we were doing back there time-wise.
The Pro Stock Finals at the Grand Nationals saw two great drivers match a pair of Pontiacs. Butch Leal against Morris Johnson. This was Johnson's second final round appearance of the season, Leal's third. Shot didn't matter as Leal had mechanical problems. Johnson won.
Morris Johnson Jr. tosses the helmet in the air. The celebration begins. 742, your first big NHRA win.
Oh, that's got to be the sweetest of all, especially to beat the man like Butch. He does such a fantastic job. And I don't know who left first, but our car was so quick in 60 feet that I know I was in front at that point. So
all that matters is who got here first.
Oh, yeah, but this race meant so much to a lot of people other than that. The wind light's great. I just tickled to death.
And there wasn't much luck involved. There was no luck involved. You outran him today, Morris.
Yeah, I tell you, Dave Butner and Bruce Eden, Kurt Zimmerman, I just got such a fantastic crew.
They have a fantastic driver, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you.
The 1988 Grand National saw a change in leaders in the Winston Funny Car Points Championship. Mark Oswald, by making the final round, took the lead away from Kenny Bernstein, who went out in the first round of competition. In the final, it was Oswald against Don Prudhomme, making his first final round appearance since the Gators of '87. With Oswald slowed with mechanical problems, Prudhomme won his 36th title.
It's awfully nice. Awfully nice, Steve. We've struggled to get here, and if it wasn't for Skoll and Pontiac, I don't think we'd make it.
The race itself, as far as your car was concerned, he broke early.
Yeah, my car was breaking up the last round, and the last couple of rounds it wasn't really swift, but we're just trying to do the best we could do. With these things, it can go either way. We ran decent today, though. I don't feel like we backed into it.
Well, I've got some more good news for you. 544.
Oh, that's pretty good. I thought it was breaking up a little bit. Shows you what I know. Yeah, it was, I'm just happy that the car performed well, and the crew worked real hard on it. My crew's just the greatest in the world.
The Top Fuel final at the Grand National saw Dick LaHaye against Gene Snow. At this race, LaHaye had reverted to the engine combination that carried him to the 1987 Winston Championship. Gene Snow had the performance advantage coming into this final round race. And Snow prevailed by just a matter of a few feet.
Joe Amato's first round loss really hurt him in the points. He drops down to third with Hill on top and Gwynn in the middle. Bernstein out first round. He loses the lead to Mark Oswald. Don Prudhomme moves up to sixth. Not much change in Pro Stock. Allen still first, followed by Christian, Leal, and Glidden.
The traditional midpoint of the season is the NHRA Budweiser Summer Nationals at Old Bridge Township Raceway Park in Englishtown, New Jersey. A huge crowd was on hand in 1988 as the excitement prevailed in all categories of competition. In Top Fuel Eliminator in qualifying, Dick LaHaye was racing against Paul Smith. Smith driving the Top Fuel dragster out of the Chuck Etchells team. One of the most important pieces in any successful Top Fuel car is the rear wing. And Dick LaHaye had problems with his in qualifying. LaHaye was able to keep the car under control. The finals of Pro Stock Eliminator at the Summer Nationals saw the defending event champion Jerry Ekman race against Bob Glidden. With the points leaders in the Winston chase going out either early in competition or failing to qualify, Glidden had a golden opportunity to advance. By more than a car length, Bob Glidden put away Jerry Ekman to take the Summer Nationals Pro Stock title. For the second race in a row, Don Prudhomme wheeled his Pontiac to the starting line to race for the Funny Car Championship. His competition was Bruce Larson, and out of this race was to come the season's first repeat winner in Funny Car Eliminator. Setting low elapsed time of the meet, Don Prudhomme won the Summer Nationals crown. What a storybook year this was for Eddie Hill, one of the finalists in Top Fuel.
No, it wasn't too long ago that you and Eddie would sleep in your trailer because you couldn't afford a hotel room. It wasn't nearly this nice a trailer, right?
No, it was pretty hot in there too, but it was nice and cozy. It was kind of fun.
You got to be proud to see what all you've earned through hard racing.
Oh yeah, we've come a long way due to a lot of people that have helped us along the way. We don't want to take all the credit. Nice sponsorships and stuff like that. Great crew. We have to give them credit for that.
As much as you and Eddie love to race, could you go back to the pull-along days, the barnstorming days, and still have fun?
I could do it, but I sure wouldn't want to.
1988 marked the second straight appearance for Joe Amato in the finals of the Summer Nationals. Back in 1987, it was Amato against Gary Ormsby. Everything appeared normal for Amato as he brought the car to the starting line. Then when the Christmas tree flashed green, the problems began for Joe Amato. Into a wheel stand, then back to earth, Amato. Out of competition, losing to Ormsby. Here in the Summer Nationals finals of 1988, the winner of this race between Amato and Hill would go away the leader in the Winston points chase. And it was to be Amato with a 5.30 second elapsed time.
In the point standings, Joe Amato has moved past Eddie Hill. Oswald remains atop the Funny Car standings, but Bernstein is getting closer. Not much change in Pro Stock. Allen still first, followed by Christian and Glidden.
The next stop on the 1988 Winston drag racing calendar was the inaugural Motorcraft Ford California Nationals, the second of 4 new NHRA national events. Sears Point International Raceway near Sonoma, California, had a packed house on hand as in the first round, Kenny Bernstein raced Eric Reed. The defending Winston champion came into this round of racing holding down the #1 qualifying spot. That made him fair game for everybody, and most importantly, for the young driver, Eric Reed. Identical elapsed times, the starting line advantage by Reed paid off as he defeated Bernstein. The first round of Top Fuel at the California Nationals saw Frank Bradley race against the McGee-engined car of Gary Beck. Beck had problems. That gave a single to Bradley, who also had problems, and he exploded an engine right off the starting line. The finals of Pro Stock Eliminator at the California Nationals had little impact on the Winston Championship points chase. Harry Scribner, at the wheel of the Chevrolet Camaro, raced against Don Beverly. This event marked the first time in 21 races that Don Beverly even qualified for the show. For Harry Scribner, he was representing his brothers in the finals, Tom and Dick. The starting line advantage by Harry Scribner gave him his first ever NHRA National Event title.
You've won an NHRA National Event in Pro Stock. I'll shake that hand.
Winning our home state, that's pretty good.
How long have you been trying?
Well, we've been racing. We had some records back in '57. My uncle used to run super stock and stuff. Ever since then, we've been on and off racing and doing the business stuff and all that.
Mark Oswald looked to increase his Winston points lead at the California Nationals. He was making his 4th final round appearance of the season, while his competitor, Don Prudhomme, was making his 3rd consecutive final round show. Prudhomme had lane choice, while Oswald had experienced engine problems in the semifinals. In one of the closest races of the day, Mark Oswald won over Don Prudhoe.
You ran a 51 to Snake's 52, a classic drag race.
Oh, yeah, it was a good race, and Snake's really been tough. We're proud to be able to defeat a car like his, you know, especially here at the Motorcraft race, and all our Strohs people are here, you know. It just couldn't be any better for us, and all the other cars in the points lead went out fairly early, so we really helped ourselves.
1988 was a season of consistency for Joe Amato. At the California Nationals, he made his 6th final round appearance of the season. Dick LaHaye, the defending Winston champion, was in his 3rd final round of the year. Amato, by less than half a car length, defeated Dick LaHaye.
Amato's 2nd straight victory has vaulted him into the lead in Top Fuel. LaHaye's best showing since the Winter Nationals keeps him in the 5th spot. Oswald opens up a 1,000-point lead on Kenny Bernstein, and neither Scribner nor Beverly move into the top 10 with their performances. The battle, Bruce Allen in 1st, Glidden in 2nd.
The snow-capped splendor of Mount Rainier looked down on Seattle International Raceway for the running of the inaugural Performance Corner Seafair National. Perfect conditions prevailed for racing. In fact, at this event, all 3 elapsed time records in the professional categories were broken. That only the 2nd time in the history of the sport. In qualifying, Bob Glidden raced against Reed Wisnett. Glidden rocked the racing world with a new national record on that run of 7.31 seconds elapsed time. In the 1st round of competition, Bruce Allen, at the wheel of the Rare and Morrison Beretta, raced against Morris Johnson Jr. Coming into this event, Allen held a slight lead over Glidden in the Winston chase. But he was put out of racing in the 1st round as Morris Johnson used a hole shot to defeat Bruce Allen. Bob Glidden became the master of his own destiny at this event. With the national record already in hand, Bob Glidden went into the finals against Warren Johnson. After a lackluster first half of the season, Warren Johnson appeared to be regaining the performance that he had had last season. As Glidden thundered down track, the crew celebrated at the starting line. Bob Glidden won the inaugural Seafair Nationals. With the conditions at Seattle International Raceway absolutely ideal, Darrell Gwynn wanted to regain his national record and take it back from Eddie Hill. On that qualifying run, Darrell Gwynn did just that. He lowered the record to a 5.052. In the 1st round of racing, Eddie Hill was pitted against Dick LaHaye. Hill had qualified rather poorly at a number 11 spot, while LaHaye finished qualifying in the number 3 position. Hill smoked the tires early, but LaHaye went into a giant wheel stand. That forced him to lift, allowing Eddie Hill to advance to the 2nd round of competition. Joe Amato was confronted with quite a challenge at the Seattle race. He needed to keep pace with his competitors in that Winston points chase, that being, of course, Eddie Hill and Darrell Gwynn. It was Glenn Mikers driving for Dennis Porcel, the competition for Amato. Amato had mechanical problems, and Mikers the upset win. The Top Fuel finals at Seattle International Raceway saw once again Gene Snow race against Darrell Gwynn. The young man from Florida had received a big gift in the semifinals when Eddie Hill was forced to be shut off at the line. Gwynn, with his record-shattering performances, was the #1 qualifier. Snow was #2, and Snow had problems in the finals. Darrell Gwynn took the victory with a 5.25-second elapsed time. The second round of Racing and Funny Car Eliminator found two-time winner this season, Don Prudhomme, against Richard Tharp at the wheel of the Blue Max. Prudhomme, the hottest driver on the circuit, had already established a new national record of 5.30 seconds. Prudhomme smoked the tires and Tharp advanced to the semifinals. The Performance Corner Seafair Nationals Funny Car Finals saw Kenny Bernstein, victor over Richard Tharp in the semifinals, battle the surprising Brad Tuttle. This was the first ever final round appearance for Tuttle. Bernstein was concentrating on regaining the Winston points lead. Kenny Bernstein won the Seafair Nationals.
Kenny at 5:35, a nice job.
Well, thank you very much. I got to really take my hat off, as I do always, but more so today than ever with Dale and the crew. I mean, we really had to thrash to get the Budweiser Quaker State Buick ready for this final. And it's been a dry spell, and they've been tough on us, but finally we got back in that winner's circle.
Joe Amato still leads the Top Fuel points, but now only 300 points separate him from Gwynn in third. Eddie Hill still in second. Snow's runner-up keeps him in fourth. In the wink of an eye, Oswald's 1,000-point lead over Bernstein backs down to 200 and change. Glidden's win third of the season puts him 1,000 points ahead of Allen.
The 11th race of the 16-event Winston Championship Series moved to the land of 1,000 lakes, Minnesota. The home of the 7th annual Quaker State North Star Nationals was Brainerd International Raceway. Kenny Bernstein has used dominating performances for the past 3 seasons to win 3 consecutive Winston titles. At the North Star Nationals, luck played a role in what happened to Kenny Bernstein. The luck this time, though, was bad. After an initial qualifying effort was thwarted because Bernstein was unable to get the car in reverse, in his first round race against Dale Baldy, the same problem occurred. The crew ran out to help Bernstein, and then it was near disaster. Bernstein attempted to get the car into reverse. He inadvertently hit the throttle, throwing 2 crew members to the ground. Both crew chief Dale Armstrong and Jim Mayle were treated and released and back at the racetrack the same day. With Bernstein out of competition, this allowed points leader Mark Oswald the opportunity to extend his lead. He raced against Tom Hoover in the first round. And Oswald smoked the tires. Hoover with the upset win. The Pro Stock Finals at the North Star National saw the classic Ford versus Chevy battle continue. At the wheel of the Beretta was Tony Christian, wearing for this race a Butch Leal t-shirt. Maybe he was looking for some inspiration at the starting line. Against him, riding a hot streak, was Ford driver Bob Glidden. And Tony Christian surprised everyone.
You had a 1/100th hole shot. You win a 50, he won a 49, theoretically a dead heat. Unbelievable.
Well, when was the last time you thumped the Ford? Have you thumped the Ford lately?
You had no idea you won till you saw us coming.
I didn't know I won. It was so close. I mean, we didn't know. I think we both shook the tires on the way down.
Well, I have a feeling it's Butch Leal who might start wearing Tony Christian t-shirts.
I might not change this thing. Thank you, everybody at Rear Morrison. Okay, they're the ones that did it for me.
The surprising John Martin of San Dimas, California, made his first final round appearance at the North Star Nationals. His competitor, John Force, had the chance to advance in the Winston points chase. Coming into the North Stars, Force was in the 4th spot right behind Don Prudhomme. But with points leaders Kenny Bernstein and Mark Oswald out of competition early, Force had the chance. And he capitalized on it, winning his 2nd race of the season. At Brainerd International Raceway, Joe Amato regained the performance level that had carried him to 5 previous final round appearances in the 1988 season. He held on to the Winston points lead, and in the finals at the North Star Nationals was racing against Darrell Gwynn, who had moved into the number 2 spot. And it was Joe Amato by just a matter of inches.
Amato's win stretches his lead over Gwynn. Gwynn's runner-up moves him ahead of Hill into 2nd. Status quo for Oswald and Bernstein. But John Force moves ahead of Prudhomme into 3rd. Christian's win moves him into 2nd in the points.
Every Labor Day weekend, the biggest drag racing event of them all is held at Indianapolis Raceway Park. The 34th annual running of the NHRA U.S. Nationals has seen the quickest ever top fuel and funny car field. In round number 1, the average winning time for the dragsters was 5.17 second elapsed time. For the funny cars, a 5:38. All of those outstanding performances have not come without cost, though, as experienced by racers like Frank Bradley. On his 2nd qualifying attempt at the U.S. Nationals, Brad Tuttle ran head-on into a nightmare. The engine exploded just at the finish line, disintegrating the fiberglass body. Tuttle, who was qualified, had to sit through 2 more days of qualifying to see if he would remain in the field. He had a new body shipped in. It was mounted. Tuttle stayed in the field, but lost in the first round to Chuck Etchell. A promoter's dream. The 2 big red cars met in the semifinals at the U.S. Nationals. Kenny Bernstein, the reigning Winston champion, against the challenger, Mark Oswald. Oswald had already been in one final round this weekend, that of the Big Bud Shootout on Sunday, when he raced against Jim Head at the wheel of John Martin's car. Head had retired his own funny car in favor of a top fueler. The 5.39 second elapsed time for Oswald made him $50,000 richer in the payout at the Big Bud Shootout. In the semifinals of U.S. Nationals competition, Oswald and Bernstein raced each other. A critical race in the Winston points chase. And Bernstein prevailed, a 5.35 second elapsed time, one of the quickest of the meet. The track and weather conditions were ideal as the Top Fuel semifinals rolled to the starting line. Gene Snow continued to sort out the bugs on a brand new race car as he raced the current ET record holder, Darrell Gwynn. The quickest elapsed time in NHRA history, Gene Snow at 5.00 seconds.
You ran 5 seconds flat.
5 seconds flat. Amazing. God, all I needed was that much more, and that'd have been it. That's wonderful. I don't know what to say. A brand new car. Gene Gaddy built the best. My crew's wonderful. Amelie's great. This is great.
Another special race was held at the U.S. Nationals. The 8 best qualified cars during an entire season of racing competed in the Mr. Gasket Pro Stock Challenge. The final was a rematch of last year. Bob Glidden against Bruce Allen, Ford versus Chevrolet. the second year in a row, Bob Glidden won the Mr. Gasket Pro Stock Challenge. Bob Glidden made the second final round appearance of the weekend when he raced against Warren Johnson in the finals at the U.S. Nationals. Johnson was the #1 qualifier. Glidden had qualified in the #2 spot. The biggest drag race in the world, the U.S. Nationals, has seen legendary performances over the years, but none can equal those of Bob Glidden. The winningest driver in history has had unprecedented success at the sport's most difficult race. 12 times Bob Glidden has been in the final round. He has won this event 8 times, and in 1988 was looking for his 4th straight U.S. Nationals title, an unprecedented accomplishment. Racing against Glidden was the man to last beat him at Indy, Warren Johnson. He left a red light on the starting line, and Bob Glidden took home his record-shattering 9th Nationals win.
Well, what a win, Steve.
Did you see his red light?
No, I didn't know he red light, but I thought I left on a pretty good line, and he was out of car length, so, you know.
And a nice capper, 7:34.
34? I thought we made a pretty nice run, but got out of shape a little, but the air so good. What a race.
2 previous champions met in the finals of Funny Car Eliminator at the U.S. Nationals. Kenny Bernstein, the champion in 1983. Ed McCulloch, 3 times he had won the U.S. Nationals title coming into the 1988 final. The starting line advantage by McCulloch was the margin of victory over a quicker Kenny Bernstein.
Hey, all right. Yeah, I tell you, burned the exhaust valve out down there. We had made a quickie repair and it let loose just down the lights, and I don't know, it cost us just a taste of ET, but it was right there. Great race. Ed did a hell of a job.
Your 35 beat his 34. Terrific.
All right. It's about time I left on time.
Did you see him all the way down, or not at all?
Actually, I didn't see him. I thought we've got it in the bag, and I looked out there, and there's that red fender, and this baby just, I mean, it took off about half track, and away it went. So, you know, it was a good race. Today was our day.
This is the drag race to win. This is the drag race everybody remembers who won.
This is the 4th time I've won this. I don't think anybody else has ever won it 4 times in the funny car category. It was the first one I ever won. I'm telling you, I'm as excited this time as I was the first time. And for Miller, for Oldsmobile, for Bernie, Larry Miner, our whole crew, I mean, I love it. It's great.
The Top Fuel finalists at the 1988 U.S. Nationals had both tasted the sweet wine of victory before. For Gene Snow, it was back in 1967 when he won the Super Eliminator title. For Joe Amato, it was just a season earlier when he took home the Top Fuel title in 1987. In an incredible finish to the 1988 U.S. Nationals, Joe Amato won the Top Fuel title. Snow's hopes of equaling or improving his 5-second elapsed time fell to mechanical problems.
Well, every once in a while you get a final like that, particularly at a race this large. I mean, we're both trying to go real fast, and when Gene went to 5 flat the round before, you knew that he had everything in it, and anything can happen in that kind of situation. I just was glad that Joe was able to recognize that Gene lost it a little bit after he did and get back on it.
Joe, congratulations.
I'm not proud how I won, Steve, but I guess whoever goes across the finish line wins.
Well, that was tenacity.
I mean, the car left, it did a wheel stand, and it smoked the tires, I think, and then it came down, and then I pedaled it once, and then I saw Snow had trouble. So then I got on it again, and it started fishtailing, and it was like going all around, and he didn't come, so I pedaled it a couple of times. It was like I was on ice, you know, but...
Joe Amato picked the right race to win. The U.S. Nationals carrying bonus points. Amato's win stretches his lead over Gwynn and Hill. Bernstein's runner-up moves him just ahead of Oswald. Bob Glidden waving goodbye to the field in pro stock.
Amish country near Reading, Pennsylvania played host to the next event on the Winston Championship Trail, the Castrol GTX Keystone Nationals at Maple Grove Raceway. A huge crowd, estimated at nearly 38,000 on race day, were treated to some outstanding performances. Shirley Muldowney, who failed to qualify at the recent U.S. Nationals, ended up number 6 in the Keystone field. That put her against David Beineman. At half-track, Shirley went into a giant wheel stand, Beineman taking the win. With only 3 races remaining after the Keystone Nationals, it was very important for Joe Amato to maintain the consistency. In the second round, he was matched against Jim Head, who had made the transition from funny car to Top Fuel just a few weeks earlier. Both drivers went up in smoke, but Amato recovered first and took the all-important round win. In the second round of Top Fuel at the Keystone Nationals, Frank Hawley, back into the driver's seat this season at the wheel of Larry Miner's dragster, raced against Eddie Hill. What an incredible season for Hill, who was the number 16 qualifier. This was the quickest side-by-side Top Fuel race ever. Hill at a 5:06, Hawley a 5:10. The Castrol GTX Keystone Nationals saw Bob Glidden and Jerry Ekman square off for the Pro Stock Championship. This marked the 4th straight final round appearance for Bob Glidden, the 5th in 6 races. Glidden closing in on a record-shattering 9th Winston Championship. He was handed the victory as Jerry Ekman left the starting line too soon. Interesting final in Funny Car Eliminator at the Keystone Nationals. Not only was it a rematch of the run a couple of weeks earlier when Ed McCulloch prevailed over Kenny Bernstein to take the U.S. Nationals title, it was a match of the number 1 qualifier at this race, which was Ed McCulloch against Bernstein, who was able to make the show in the number 14 spot due to the loss of an entire qualifying day due to rain. This time, the roles were reversed. Kenny Bernstein had the starting line advantage and took the win over a quicker time by Ed McCulloch. In the Top Fuel finals, Dick LaHaye was looking for his 3rd consecutive Keystone Nationals win. Racing against him was Darrell Gwynn, who wanted to take advantage of the opportunity to narrow the lead held by Joe Amato in the Winston points chase. LaHaye smoked the tires, and Gwynn had a 5:14 and the Keystone Nationals title.
No change in the Top Fuel points. Amato still number 1, Gwynn number 2, and Eddie Hill in the 3rd slot. Kenny Bernstein back on top again, but not by much. In Pro Stock, Bob Glidden struggled early in the year. Now it looks like he's a heartbeat away from clinching the Winston title for the 9th time.
From Pennsylvania, the racing scene shifted to Texas, and the inaugural Fram Super Nationals, held at the magnificent new raceway constructed by the Angel Brothers and the Gay family, Houston Raceway Park hosted an overflow crowd. In addition to the competition for the Winston title in the 3 professional categories, racing throughout 1988 saw tremendous action in the alcohol categories. In Funny Car, Pat Austin came into this race riding a string of 5 consecutive national event victories. Another great young driver, Don Gay Jr., was Austin's competition at the Super Nationals. Gay at mid-season had 3 straight victories, but on this day, he left a red light at the starting line and wasted a brilliant run. Pat Austin clinched his second consecutive Winston title. In top alcohol dragster, Mike Troxel raced against Gary Travis. Like Pat Austin, Mike Troxel came into the Super Nationals with 5 event wins to his credit. If he won at this event, he would be crowned the Winston champion. The victory and the championship went to Mike Troxel. The Super Nationals saw the debut of the brand new Ford Probe of Bob Glidden. He shocked the racing world when he established a new all-time best for pro stocks at 7.277 seconds. In the Pro Stock Finals, Bob Glidden brought his Probe to the starting line to race against Warren Johnson. Glidden was still working out problems with the Probe. Johnson had the quicker elapsed time in the semifinal round and thus had the choice of lanes. The closest pro stock race ever. Glidden a 7:33, Johnson 7:31.
I knew it was going to be a close race, Steve, and give Warren a second here to get by. Warren's he's been a little early, he's been a little late. I told the boys he's going to be, I figured he'd be right on time. We thought it would be a really good race, and the car come a long way at this race. We've had problems, and it made a nice run in the final.
The only thing it lacked was a little bit of consistency.
That's right, and the last 3 runs has been consistent.
The record-shattering performances at the Super Nationals were not limited to pro stock only. Funny Car Eliminator took their share, with Ed McCulloch holding the quickest time ever at a 5.25 second elapsed time. He still needed the 1% backup in his second round race against Bruce Larson. It was not to be. As McCulloch smoked the tires, Larson advanced to the semis. In the first round of competition, some fireworks were provided by a rookie driver, Tony McCollum. He was racing against the record-holding 280-mile-an-hour funny car of Mike Dunn. This was the first national event ever for McCollum.
You did a good job of controlling that car, my friend, for your first time.
Thank you. Gave it the best I could. Surprise.
Indeed.
In addition to the excitement provided by Tony McCollum, some important races were held that had a bearing on the Winston Championship. In funny car, Kenny Bernstein, the points leader, had qualified in the number 2 spot. In the first round, he raced John Ford. A wheel stand by Bernstein forced him to back off, allowing John to take the victory. Bob Glidden was not the only Ford driver to debut a new Probe at the Super Nationals. The team of Candies and Hughes utilized the Probe body in qualifying and through the first and second round. Then in the semifinals, it was back to the Thunderbird body as he raced Bruce Larson. A close race. Mark Oswald down to defeat Bruce Larson, the win. The finals in Funny Car Eliminator under the lights at Houston Raceway Park saw Bruce Larson race Mike Dunn. Dunn, having won his first event in 1981, then taking home the U.S. Nationals title in 1986, had not visited the winner's circle since. And Mike Dunn outpowered Bruce Larson for the Super Nationals title. Not to be outdone by their nitro-burning counterparts in Funny Car, Top Fuel Eliminator provided their own excitement at the Super Nationals. Frank Cook, in qualifying, grenaded an engine on the starting line. meantime, Gene Snow provided his share of thrills when he ran a 4.997 to take home the #1 qualifying spot. A Hollywood scriptwriter would have found it difficult to create the Eddie Hill story at the Super National. Hill, having failed to make the program on 3 consecutive qualifying attempts, was out of parts. Then Earl Whiting loaned him a supercharger, other racers pitched in, and Eddie Hill made the show with a 5:03, ironically bumping Earl Whiting out of the program. In the semifinals, the world's only 4-second race cars met on the Houston starting line. Snow's time came in qualifying. Hill set his 4-second run back in March. Hill thundered to a 4.990 second elapsed time, a new national record. As they came into the final round of the Super Nationals, the points leader, Joe Amato, was trying to put a stop to the charge of Eddie Hill. Hill with the record at a 4.99. Amato, his best time at this event, came in qualifying a 5.00 second elapsed time. And Eddie Hill stunned everyone with a 4.93 second time, the quickest ever in drag racing.
493. 93?
Got it.
Good Lord. But I outran myself. That's not a record, is it? It's too quick for a record.
Oh, but hey, it's a record in our hearts, let me tell you.
93.
We are a mile away. You can still hear the crowd.
Hear him down here.
Rissy has got him whipped into a frenzy.
I bet she does. They, Fuzzy and them are working till 3 or 4 o'clock every night this week trying to get this deal sorted out.
With 2 races to go, it's time to separate the winners from the runners-up. Amato still holds the lead, but both Gwynn and Hill still have outside shots at the title. Bernstein and Oswald are separated by less than 100 points, and don't count out John Force just yet. Glidden clinches the Winston title.
Just 2 races remained on the NHRA National Event Circuit when the Winston Trail moved to Firebird International Raceway near Phoenix, Arizona, and the 4th annual Castrol GTX Fall Nationals. Unseasonably warm weather greeted the racers in the desert atmosphere, and some heat was provided in qualifying by Arlie Langlo and Dan Pastorini. Less than 100 points separated the #1 and 2 cars in the 1988 Winston Funny Car Points Chase. Kenny Bernstein held that slim lead over Mark Oswald as they raced each other in the 2nd round at the Fall Nationals. By over a car length, Bernstein gained the win and the most important points. While Joe Amato continued to hold on to his Winston points lead, Darrell Gwynn was one of the racers with a mathematical chance of catching him. In the 2nd round of racing, Gwynn faced Frank Hawley. The loss to Hawley brought an end to the quest by Darrell Gwynn for the Winston title. Joe Amato could have written finish to the Winston Championship at Firebird Raceway, but Eddie Hill was not about to go down without a fight. And Hill, by a car length, continued his quest for the Winston title. The championship in Pro Stock Eliminator had been decided by the time the racers came to Phoenix and Firebird Raceway. For Bob Glidden, the title was his for a record-shattering 9th time. In the finals, Glidden raced against Warren Johnson, who was battling against Tony Christian for the number 2 spot in the Winston Chase. With a 7.45 second elapsed time, Bob Glidden won his 67th career victory at the Fall Nationals. For the second NHRA event in a row, Mike Dunn was in the final round of Funny Car Eliminator. At Phoenix, he raced the surprising Tom Hoover. Dunn earned the right to race against Hoover by defeating the Winston points leader, Kenny Bernstein, in the semifinal round. Second race in a row, Mike Dunn and his powerful machine prevailed, winning the Funny Car title at the Fall National. In Top Fuel Eliminator, Frank Hawley made his first ever final round appearance at the wheel of a Top Fuel dragster. Earlier, Hawley had been a 2-time Winston champion in Funny Car Eliminator. Eddie Hill was looking for a big win to keep alive his mathematical chances for a Winston title. Eddie Hill kept his hopes alive, taking his 4th national event title.
Darrell Gwynn's loss in the second round takes him out of the points battle. Eddie Hill's win moves him into second and gives him a slight shot at catching Amato. 250 points separate Bernstein in first from Oswald in second. Pomona will definitely decide the Funny Car title.
The 1988 NHRA Winston season ended where it began, at the Fairplex in Pomona, California. In addition to some outstanding racing, the fans were treated to the debut of Tom McEwen's full-on nitro-burning 57 Chevy Bel Air Funny Car. In the Winston Championship Racing, the finals of Pro Stock Eliminator saw a pair of Johnsons, no relation. Morris Johnson Jr. and his Pontiac raced against the Oldsmobile of Warren Johnson. When Morris defeated Bob Glidden in the semifinals, he earned the distinction of being the first driver to beat the new Ford Probe. Warren Johnson's final round appearance clinched his number 2 finish in the Winston points chase. The Winston Finals event title went to Warren Johnson. In Top Fuel Eliminator, Joe Amato, the 1984 Winston champion, held a commanding 1,000-point lead in that category. This had already been a successful weekend for Amato. On Saturday, he had marched his way through the field in the Krager Classic that pitted the 8 best Top Fuel dragsters in the country to race against Darrell Gwynn in the finals for $50,000 cash. For the second consecutive year, Joe Amato was the Krager Top Fuel Classic champion. In the first round of racing in Top Fuel at the Winston Finals, Joe Amato, the number 1 qualifier with a 5.01 second time, raced Gary Ormsby. Amato won the race and had the opportunity to watch as Eddie Hill brought his car to the starting line in a must-do situation. It was almost an insurmountable challenge for Eddie Hill. Not only must he have won this race against Dick LaHaye, he also needed to win the event and set a new national record in the process. After his burnout, Hill had problems. He could not get the car in reverse. Dick LaHaye waited for him to make it a race. Hill had problems right off the starting line. LaHaye won the race in a cloud of smoke, and that clinched for Joe Amato the Winston Championship. For Eddie Hill, what a season 1988 was. 4 national event victories, number 3 in the Winston standings. For Joe Amato, what a comeback from 1987, where he lost the title by just a few points. The final in Top Fuel Eliminator found Darrell Gwynn racing Dennis Forssell. This marked the third consecutive year that Darrell Gwynn was in the Winston Finals. He defeated Joe Amato in the second round of racing. For Forssell, this was his second final round appearance of 1988. By virtue of the victory, Darrell Gwynn tied Big Daddy Don Garland's record of 6 wins in a season. The second round of funny car competition at the Winston Finals matched Kenny Bernstein against Don Prudhomme. Kenny held a 240-point lead over Mark Oswald. If he defeated Don Prudhomme, Mark Oswald would have had to win the Winston Finals to claim the title. Kenny Bernstein moved to the semifinals with a 5.43-second elapsed time that earned him the right to face the winner of the next pair of cars. It was Tom Hoover against Mark Oswald. Everyone was already looking forward to the semifinals, where Kenny Bernstein, they felt, would race Mark Oswald. But Hoover was the spoiler. That gave the Winston Championship to Kenny Bernstein for the 4th consecutive year. In the final round, Bernstein raced against John Force. His final round appearance put John Force in the number 3 spot in the Winston Championship. He had recorded the quicker elapsed times of these 2 cars, while Bernstein was putting away in the semifinals Tom Hoover. The victory was John Force's. His elapsed time of 5.37 second elapsed time.
Joe Amato wins his second Top Fuel title. Kenny Bernstein becomes only the second person to win 4 straight in funny car. Bob Glidden wins his 9th Pro Stock crown, his 4th straight. Gwynn's Winston win moves him into second in the standings. Hill finishes third. Oswald runner-up in funny car, followed by Force in third. W.J. clinches second. Christian finishes third in Pro Stock. Never in NHRA drag racing history has the competition been closer than 1988. Amato, Bernstein, and Glidden are the champs, but no one is really a loser.